Welcome, team, to our Friday training. Today, we are going to be doing the ultimate habit checklist with my friend Selena. So I'm going to hand it over to you. Take it away, lovely.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Welcome, everybody. So hopefully you have downloaded the habit checklist and mini guide, as well as the SMART goals sheet, which has been put in the chat. You can also use the habit tracker that was in the toolkit from our first training. That is going to be very helpful in this. So I appreciate you for being here. My name is Selena Pizarro, and for those of you that don't know, I am besides a beauty influencer, a business owner, a wife, an author, a yoga instructor, a fitness and nutrition enthusiast, former hospital director, and former bodybuilder. And we are busy as moms, as women, as business owners. So having said all that, I know what it takes that it takes a lot to be present as a mother, wife, confident taxi driver, chef, PTA volunteer, cookie salesman, all of the hats that we have to wear. It takes a lot to do all of that and then have time for yourself. But that is essential so that we can be the best that we can be for all the people that depend on us. So, having said all of that, we must create good habits to do all of this, because running a family, having running a household, your faith, business, it's tough. And the most successful mompreneurs, not to leave out anyone that's not a mom, but the vast majority of us are, but to be an effective female entrepreneur, you have to be really good at creating good habits and time blocking your day. So we can do more in less time, because that's the one thing we all, is the one commodity we can't make more of is time. All right. So they say success cannot happen without consistency. So we are going to talk about consistency and what it takes to make a habit. If I look up, that's because I've got 50,000 tabs open in front of me, just like we all normally do in trying to run our day. So from the minute you wake up in the morning until the minute you go to bed at night, you are operating out of habit a big 95% of the time. Now, that doesn't mean that we're just running around mindlessly, but it means that your body, your mind, and your brain has created efficient methods to operate and do all of these things that we need to do to conserve energy, which means it's created habits for you for the things that you do on a regular basis. They've been ingrained into your daily life. But that's excellent news, because we're going to tap into that and into the power of those existing routines to help you create more helpful and supportive habits to help you reach your goals. So, how does that sound? Is everybody ready? Drop it in the chat if you are ready, because we're not interested in short term fixes. We are talking about creating lifelong change to support us in everything that we do. So, let's discuss. All right. I'd like to see that chat blow up. All right. So, the anatomy of a habit. There's three parts to any habit. Now, you probably instinctively already know this, but it might have not been explained to you like this. So, you have the cue, and this is something that happens, an event, a time of day, something that kicks your brain into auto mode and tells the rest of your nervous system what to do, which habit to use, which program to install for the given, situation. So a lot of us, and we were just talking about this, a lot of us, when we first wake up, put it in the chat if you know, what is the first thing that most people do when they wake up? If you feel called out, you should. Right. Most people, when they first wake up, because maybe they have an alarm on their phone, they're picking up their phone and turning off the alarm, or they pick up the phone to see what time it is, or they pick it up to go and see who's messaged them and yada yada. Picking up the phone. So in this situation, we'll talk about why that's not a good idea in a little bit. But for explaining what the habit cycle is, the cue is waking up. Okay, the cue is waking up in this situation. The next part of the habit cycle is the routine, that programming, that physical, mental, or emotional response, that automated response, like reaching for your phone. And then you have a reward. That's the prize, telling your brain that this loop is so much worth remembering in the future. We're going to keep doing it. And that's that dopamine hit you get from looking at whatever you're looking at on your phone. So using that as a very simple example, you can see what the habit cycle is, and we are going to tap into that to create good, positive habits. All right, so I want you to start by considering, what habits do you have that you would like to change, or what would you like to add as a habit that would be supportive of your day, of what you want to accomplish? Drop it in the chat if you'd be so kind to share if there's a habit you'd like to change. So reflect on behaviors that occur automatically or regularly in given situations. You know, think about the times of the day, your sleep pattern. I see a lot of sleep in here. Anything else? Because we all sleep, but what is it about your sleep that you'd like to change? Snacking. Oh, snacking is a big one. Yep. Having a better bedtime routine. Okay. Yep. Getting full night's sleep. So I see sleep is definitely a theme here. So we will definitely talk about that. So analyzing your habits and being self-aware is the first step. Yes, keeping your phone out of the room is definitely helpful. When you can identify what it is that you want to change and those routines and those cues that we just talked about, that's going to be the catalyst for creating or replacing. I like to call it hitchhiking. We're going to hitchhike new habits on other habits that are part of our day to modify behavior. But keep in mind, when we do this, it is definitely something that you initially are not going to do subconsciously or automatically. You're going to have to use the reward part of that cue in a positive way to instill it until it becomes a habit. Now, they say, just going to go back to our little mini habit checklist. They say somewhere on here, it says the average habit takes about 66 days to instill into our neural network and create that loop. However, it only takes about 2 or 3 days to break a habit, right? So you can use this to your advantage if you do it consciously. All right, so having said all of that, looking at our habit checklist, let's talk about what it is that you want to achieve. And this could be anything. I do have some examples or suggestions, all right? But think about what it is that you want to accomplish. So if it is sleep, if it is a good nighttime routine, what we want to do is to think about, where's my little sleep section? I have a whole section on sleep. All right, so leading up to your nighttime routine, what are you already doing, right? So we want to really identify what's already happening in our day so that we can hitchhike on those cues that we're already doing. You want to get super clear about what your goal is, and you can write that into for your goal number 1 on page 4 under your mini habit guide. You want them to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant. These are SMART goals. You've heard this before, and time bound. All right, but when it comes to sleep, let's think about leading up to when your eyes close and you actually go to sleep. What are you doing? And I do have a ton of suggestions about a healthy nighttime routine. But think about what you're already doing. Do you brush your teeth right before you get into bed? I hope you do. Your partner, I'm sure, helps you do too. Do you grab a glass of water to put next to your bed? Are you do your skincare? Perfect. You do your skincare. So list out what you're already doing that's supportive of a good sleep routine, so that we're building here, right? This is something that we want to build into our normal practice. Good. Prayer. All right, so put a time frame on this. When do you want your sleep routine, if that's what we're going to call it, when do you want it to start? And I highly suggest making it the same time of night. Unless you've got a job that fluctuates, make it the same time of night every night of the week. So instead of having on Saturday and Sunday a different time that you start your nighttime routine, I strongly suggest making it the same time, especially in the beginning. This is true for any habit. You want it to be at the same time during the day so that you use the same cues and your subconscious gets used to this new cycle. So if you fluctuate from one day to the next, it's going to be difficult to create that new cycle. So if we are starting, I know you're not starting your nighttime routine at 10:30 p.m., Jenna. That's way too late. This is the beginning of your routine. So like when you're starting to wind down, so you can start it anywhere. You can start with your shower, skincare, brushing your teeth. You can start up after dinner. I mean, for me, it's like 6:30 because I'm cleaning up after dinner, and that happens. I'd like to be done eating before 7 o'clock. So cleaning up after dinner, closing down the kitchen, that type of thing, whatever it is. Then you're building from there. And you want to acknowledge why, if we go to step 2 in our little guide, why is this important? Why do you want to sleep better? Because you're going to operate better in the morning. You're going to feel better. It's better for your health. Be as specific as you can how this is going to feel, how this is going to help you and your family. Write it down and be as specific as you can. All right, and then we want to, where is it? One new target habit. So this is, we're going to be adding in that time frame. So if you want to have a supportive sleep routine that gives you 7-8 hours of sleep, how long do you want to give yourself to actually make it a routine? Like 7 days, 7 months, whatever it is. What is the target? So I have some examples here. Reduce stress levels by 50% in 60 days. You want to give yourself a time frame in order to make this happen. All right, and then we get into the fun part. How can we make this as easy as possible? So setting yourself up for success with creating any habit is super, super important, because we will instinctively look for obstacles and look for ways out. We will look for reasons to give ourselves an out. Holding ourselves accountable to this starts with making it easy, right? How many of you, show of hands, be brave, have knowingly said to yourself, I know I should do this, but it's so much easier to do whatever else. You give yourself an out, right? So if you say you want to run a 5K without stopping in the next 90 days and you've never run before, but you're saying you're going to do it, or even we'll make it shorter in 30 days, that's not real reasonable. All right. So you want to make it reasonable, but you want to make it as easy for yourself as possible. So maybe right now you say, I'm going to go to bed a half an hour earlier, and like that's it. We're not making it this huge big thing. Just maybe you just want to go to bed a half an hour earlier, and you're going to give yourself a month to make that a habit where maybe, 25 out of the 30 days you went to bed a half an hour earlier. Make it reasonable, make it easy for yourself so that you can build on this one cue, this one habit, to create like a full nighttime routine. Now, at the end of the week, if you're like, "Oh, I got this, half an hour earlier is no big deal," you can add in more to it afterwards. That's compounding this habit. And this is exactly what I mean in hitchhiking on another habit, on a positive habit, right? So make it as easy as possible. In addition to doing this, what you want to think about, if we're using sleep as the example, what can you do in your physical environment to make it easy for yourself? So things like making sure that the room is at a certain temperature, making sure that you make your bed in the morning so that there's a nice clean bed to get into, right? Telling your partner, hey, I'm going to bed a half an hour early. This, well, if you're going to watch TV, you're going to have to do it out in the living room or whatever. Think of all of the other things, all of the possible, obstacles, all the possible ways that you could give yourself an out, and try to remove them before you even start. So, getting your water ready to go to bed. And my personal opinion about nighttime routines is to not eat or drink alcohol or consume caffeine or use blue light technology 2 hours before bed for the best sleep. And to turn off the lights and go into your meditation, prayer, visualization. You're kind of like what I call like the nighttime programming. Maybe you're reading a book, do that before 10 p.m. Like at 10 p.m., that is the sweet spot for your circadian rhythm cycle, for you to start releasing the most amount of melatonin, is to get into that state. Like by my goal is 9 p.m. to be there by 9 p.m. So somewhere between 9 p.m. and 9:30, I'm like, out. But before 10 p.m. is really the sweet spot for adults living in the northern hemisphere. So think about that. And try to be as detailed as possible. One thing that I always suggest is to not charge your phone in your bedroom. Charge your phone out in your living room or somewhere that's not in your room. So if you've got a bathroom that's not in your room, put it out there. That way you, number one, won't be tempted to be on it as you're, going to sleep. You won't grab it the first thing in the morning when you wake up. And if you're like, oh, I use the alarm, go get an analog alarm clock. Go get like an old school alarm clock. They're like $5 on Amazon. But if you do this and put a sleep setting on your phone, you can actually tell, there's settings in your phone when I'm going to look at my phone real quick because I forget what it's called. But it's in the control center somewhere when it's sleep time. So you can customize it, but it's like when it starts to turn down, it won't send you notifications and blah, 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 blah. Right? Even if you are one of the people, yeah, there are different modes. It depends what kind of phone you have. Even if you're one of those people who wears a watch to track your sleep, I'm sure that the phone can be set into another room that your Bluetooth is going to be okay. Though I don't recommend wearing those to sleep, but that's your prerogative. Not my recommendation though. This will help you. All of these things are going to help in creating that new habit because you want it to be nice and cozy and comfortable. Maybe you go treat yourself to a new set of sheets, do what you need to do to make it as enticing and inviting to you to perform this habit loop. Give yourself that reward up front so that your cue, when you've identified the cue, whatever the cue is that initiates your nighttime routine, that you're going to look forward to that cue like, okay, now it's time for my nighttime, my bedtime routine. Does this make sense? You can replace this with anything. It doesn't have to be a 2-hour habit that you're creating. It could be as simple as maybe every morning when you wake up, you want to do 10 squats, right? If we were to replace this with 10 squats, choose a cue in the morning. When Lily goes to bed, your cue, right? When you put the kids down, now it's mama's time. Yep. So if we were to do a shorter habit cycle, if we were going to choose the 10 squats, choose a cue like brushing your teeth. Maybe you do it while you brush your teeth. I've done that before. So every morning when you get up to brush your teeth, you do 10 squats. And you put a cup of water in the bathroom or wherever, or, I don't know, maybe you give as a reward, you give yourself like a green juice or a shot of glow, aloe glow, I don't know what your reward is, but put it in the bathroom with you while you're, in the location that you're initiating your new habit. Does that make sense? All right. So there's some tips what happens when you fall off track. So just remember, be prepared for slip ups. Don't be hard on yourself. If you plan ahead of time of how it's going to go, when you slip up, how you're going to get back on track, then you won't beat yourself up so much about it. Now, like I said earlier, was it just takes 2 days to break a habit. So in the beginning, not skipping one day, it's not that hard to get back on track. Skipping 2, it is like 10 times as more difficult to get back on track if you skip 2 days in a row when you're initially creating any habit. When I was, a holistic health and fitness coach, I never encouraged people to take the weekend off from their exercise or take the weekend off from, their healthy eating plan. Because if you take 2 days off, and no one likes to do anything on a Monday, it's like setting yourself up for a disaster, right? So give yourself some grace. However, really try in the first month to 2 months to not miss 2 days in a row. And you'll thank yourself for that. So there's a couple of examples of what to do if you do fall off track. Remind yourself of your why and the reason this is important to you in the first place, right? And then acknowledge what happened and ask yourself, what was the reason why I slipped up? Why did I brush my teeth without doing 10 squats? Like, did I just forget? Maybe you write it, like put a sticky note. That's what I would always do, is put a sticky note on my mirror in the bathroom to remind myself of whatever I was going to do, Doing squats is easier than doing push-ups when you brush your teeth, just FYI. Start with the squats. And then ask yourself what you can learn from the situation. And then maybe you put new boundaries in place so you can do a better job setting yourself up for success going forward. So maybe there's some obstacles that you don't think about ahead of time. And you realize when you slip up that, oh, yeah, it would have been easier if I had done this to set myself up for success. Like maybe, like the bath, I'm only using the squat thing because it's a little bit easier to quantify than a sleep routine. But maybe your bathroom isn't set up in a way that has room for you to do a squat, or something like that, or maybe your kids come in and brush their teeth with you and like you're going to be squatting on them. I don't know, whatever the situation may be. There might be things that arise. You need to adjust your habit cycle so that you can be successful. In that situation, I would suggest waking up earlier before the kids. So if you go to sleep 30 minutes earlier, you can wake up 30 minutes earlier. Just saying. All right. So then you want to give yourself a new reward when you get back on track right away. Now, obviously, if your new habit goal is something like to lose 5 pounds in the next 20 days, don't make your reward a piece of chocolate cake. Like make the reward work for you and not against you in your new habit goal, right? I would suggest for the nighttime routine is like literally like you'll get yourself a new set of sheets if you can go to bed 30 minutes early every night for the next 7 nights or whatever. Something that's supportive of your new habit. Does that make sense? All right. So just some tips. Make sure your reward, like I mentioned, is healthy and aligned with your goals. Remember, you're in this for the long haul. So the reward is not the finish line. It's just an acknowledgement of your progress. And set boundaries for yourself and with your family members. Tell your family members what you're doing. It'll help you stay accountable and to stick with them. So I do have some suggestions for effective habits. We've already covered the sleep, but if you would like to know my 5 habits of highly effective mompreneurs, let me know in the chat and I will go through them. These are like the 5 pillars of success. Yes, awesome. All right. So plan it out. This is time blocking your business. When are you going to work on your business? So Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday. Again, like I said, I don't like to take 2 days off, so just keep that in mind. Monday through Saturday, if you're taking off Sundays, which is typically what people do, plan it out. Have a designated schedule for work. Now, maybe on Saturday you only work from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. or something like that. Whatever. Doesn't have to be a whole day, but you put down hours in your time block scheduler. So the time block scheduler, just FYI, is also in the toolkit from the first Plan Your Success training. Okay. So designate a scheduled time and place in your house to do your business, to work your business. If you don't have an office, pick another spot that you can make just for business. And I don't recommend it. If you can avoid it at any costs, have it be the bedroom, because like we were just talking about, having a sound sleep routine is separating the rest of the day from sleep time. And if you've got your office in your bedroom, then your phone's going to be in your bedroom, your computer's going to be in your bedroom, a bunch of to-do lists are going to be in your bedroom, and that could adversely affect your sleep routine. So yeah, working in bed, not recommended. This coach does not recommend that. I know sometimes things happen, right? But don't plan to do that. Try to set up another corner of your house somewhere, even if it's like a corner of the kitchen table. You're sitting on your bed. You're fired. So, time and place for conducting business. Remember that, and I know this is tough. This is a tough pill for us moms to swallow, but multitasking is the #1 energy vampire. So having clear times of business in your day and using the time block scheduler, which again, we kind of touched on in the Plan Your Success, will help you get more done and help you stay focused, which means it'll take less time to get done what you need to do. So if you in the first hour of your day are doing reach outs or doing follow-ups, or creating content, just do that. Maybe it's not an hour, maybe it's 45 minutes, maybe it's 15 minutes, whatever it is, however you want to block out your day. I like to do 15 minutes because I'm a little squirrely. So 15 minutes. Now, mind you, my issue is putting on a timer so that when the 15 minutes is done, I can move on to the next thing. Yeah. But whatever your time frame is, right? Set that up on your calendar and put that for your scheduled time for work. So if it's when the kids get on the bus in the morning at 8:30 till when they come home at 3:30, how are you blocking out that day in between? And #2 habit is nutrition. Make nutritious meals a priority. Somebody mentioned snacking. This will eliminate the snacking. As a nutrition and health coach, I do not recommend snacking. I truly, and think about this. I don't know who said it. I just saw it in the chat. So, oh, you did, Sarah? Okay. So think about, I understand why people snack, and it's because they don't make nutrition a priority. So if you time block in your schedule lunch, right? You've got time block for lunch, and maybe on Sunday you time block prepping meals for the week. Then you've got a meal ready and a time of the day to eat. The reason why most people snack is because they don't do that. They don't have something prepared. They don't have it in their day. And they're like, oh man, I'm hungry. I'm going to grab something. And they grab, a handful of nuts or maybe Cheez-Its. That used to be my go-to back in the day. Which then you end up grazing all day. And if you think about it like a car, like a high performance car, let's say, but really any car, you don't fill up the gas tank until it goes on E. And then you don't stop every 5 minutes to put more gas in it. You fill it up and then you go until the car goes on E again. Our bodies work better in the same way, to allow your body to digest food properly and then eat only when you're hungry. Now, sometimes you forget to eat, but if you've got it in your calendar, it'll be scheduled, right? So having a well-balanced meal prepped and prepared takes the guesswork out of mealtime. And just like, you get smiles, you put a little smiley face on your brown paper lunch bag for your kids, you can do the same thing for you, So that making nutrition a priority is effective habit #2. We talked about effective habit #3, creating a supportive nighttime routine. So you want to audit your sleep habits. Think back how you slept last night, what you did leading up to it, kind of like we just did. Audit your sleep habit, your sleep routine, and see what it is, like, do you wake up feeling tired? Are you not are you waking up in the middle of the night? Just kind of evaluate what's going on. I guarantee you, though, if you're waking up in the middle of the night and you're not sleeping soundly, it has to do with what you're doing before you go to bed in those last 2 hours. And if you eliminate things that I mentioned, alcohol, caffeine, food, the phone, any kind of blue light, really, you'll notice that you sleep more soundly, and you won't have to necessarily sleep as long either. Okay? When you actually sleep soundly, you won't need as much time in bed. All right. Number 4. This is Rachel's favorite habit. Give you one guess. Exercise might seem like a wish rather than a habit to most of us. I know. But I assure you that marathon runners were not born loving to run. They just got into the habit of running and became good at it. You bought a sleep mask. Oh, yes. I love my sleep mask. I know you dislike it, but it loves you. Now, the good news is exercise can be very simple in the beginning. Think of something that you like to do. Like, I know Rachel likes to go for walks outside, so make that your exercise for the day, and you can do it as little as 5 minutes. There's I think it's in Atomic Habits. There is like a challenge for push-ups, and it's like 1 push-up a day, right? Just 1. Now, push-ups for women are very difficult at first to do. I get it, but this guy decided he was just going to do 1 push-up a day, but he was going to add 1 every day. So he just started with 1 a day. But by the end of his challenge, he was doing like 60 to 100 push-ups. Not right now, but when I was doing push-ups every morning, I was doing 3 sets of 60 real push-ups, not girly push-ups on your knees. Get outside and walk. Yes. Leave your phone. Leave your phone. When you go outside and walk, leave your phone. That's a challenge to you. Be in nature, not with your AirPods in your ears. Be in nature. Listen to the nature sounds, feel the breeze, do all the things. Try to leave your phone. But all right, so talking about exercise, it can be anything. It can be anything, and you can start with any duration. Again, make it attainable, make it easy, make it fun. And the biggest thing, and this is coming from years and years and years of being a fitness and nutrition coach, make it obtainable. So do not set yourself up for failure by saying you're going to run a 5K in 30 days if you've never run at all in your life. Don't do that. Just say you're going to go for a walk for 5 minutes a day. That you can do, right? Or maybe it's as simple as saying if you drive your kids to school that you're going to park in the furthest parking lot from the school and walk them into school. So that you walk to school and then you walk back. 5 minutes. There you go. You're done. You got to do it anyway, right? Does this make sense? You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to lift a bunch of weights, though I highly recommend doing that. You can make it fun. You can include a partner. If you have animals, you got to walk your dog anyway. Walk your dog up a hill instead of just opening the door and letting them run outside, There you go. See, Rachel parks at the park and walks to school back and forth. Yes. It's okay. So if we've got time, I'll tell you a story. I had a woman that I was coaching, and it was her goal to run a marathon. Now, this woman was a little bit overweight, but she was highly addicted to sugar, like hiding candy bars, wrappers from her husband for years, kind of thing, putting them in a garbage bag and going to the grocery store to throw them out so he didn't see. Addicted to sugar, really, really serious. so much to the point that it made her bones brittle. When you like have that much sugar going through your body, you're not absorbing nutrients properly. And she probably was, because this was some years ago, she probably was type 2 diabetic, but didn't know it at the time. Right. So she wanted to run a marathon. Well, obviously, she came to me to help her with her nutrition, but obviously, stopping the habit of eating the candy bars was top priority. So I asked her, when are you buying these candy bars? Because I knew she wasn't buying them with her normal groceries. She didn't bring them home. She didn't want her husband to see them. Right. So she said that she would stop on the way home, wherever she was. I don't remember if she was dropping off her kid or what. Stop by the Walgreens and go in and buy the candy bars on the way home. Right. So then she would eat them on the way home. And then she'd put them in the bag, the Walgreens bag. And the next day she would pitch them, the wrappers. So I said, so do you have another route you can take home that doesn't go by Walgreens? Something like that. I mean, we did dive into the psychology behind why she was using sugar as a pacifier and why, her limiting beliefs around herself and her self-worth were contributing to this, but that's not what this training is about. But the actual habit itself had to do with that drive home past the store. Because, like I said, she didn't get them at the grocery store. It was like this one specific one, I guess, was her safe place to go. They stopped her favorite candy bar to get. So I suggested she take another route home. And in the first 3 weeks we worked together, doing all of the other work that we did, she called me crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? What happened? Let's hear it, Catherine. She's like, I can't believe that I haven't even thought about eating a candy bar since the third day that we had spoken, that we had met. I was like, so why are you crying? And she was like, because I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on doctors and all of this stuff that's affected her health over the years. And you were able to help me in 3 weeks. And she lost some weight in that time frame, but she said she had also started walking. And she messaged me about 6 months later and said that she had joined or signed up to do her first marathon, or it was a half marathon, to do her first half marathon. But it all started with changing her routine in a way that was positive change to break that habit cue. You see, now there was, like I said, some other work that we had to do, but think about what it is that you can do to set yourself up for success. That's the moral of the story. Eliminate obstacles and barriers that you know are going to come up anyway. All right. All right. So number 5 in the 5 habits of highly effective mompreneurs is our visualization meditation prayer. So studies have shown that these practices will help you reduce stress, improve your heart health, and overall well-being. Just carving out 10 to 20 minutes a day can help reduce your stress dramatically. Our minds and bodies are interconnected. The condition of one affects the condition of the other. That is why these are such powerful tools for healing. When our minds are cluttered with repetitive thoughts, a loop of information, our bodies are responding and trying to take action. This is that low-grade chronic stress that most people are under. You have the power to break this cycle, and your body will respond when you do, and will respond very quickly. You might notice this when you have an unfocused mind full of clutter and racing thoughts, that you feel confused, you feel tense. You might get like your jaw hurts, or maybe you feel it in your shoulder girdle. You grind your teeth, you feel constricted, you can't breathe. Maybe you're just breathing in your chest, you're not like taking full breaths. This is your body telling you that it is under this low-grade chronic stress. Using a meditation, visualization, gratitude, journaling practice, you absolutely can do meditation while walking. if you leave your phone and your AirPods in the car. I mean, you could do it with those, but I recommend doing it in nature. Being mindful is what this practice is called, right? Being in our bodies and recognizing our breath and allowing our minds to naturally clear is what is the response that you will start to feel everything kind of like melt. And I highly recommend doing these practices in your nighttime routine and or right after you wake up. Both is key. Now, you can couple this habit with visualization to instill into your subconscious new programming. That we talked about a little bit in the last training, but doing this at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day allows your sleep to be calm and restful, and is the time when you are reprogramming the subconscious. Yes, that's the 30 Magic movie visualization that we talked about the last time. So this is why it's so powerful to do it, so that your subconscious is actually working on what you want it to, not the old programming from what's already happened of the past and all of the things that you need to do and right? This is kind of how you break that cycle and allow your body to be restful and calm. And is when you can insert the new programming that you want, right? So this is when we become conscious creators, is actually finding that space to reprogram the subconscious. And this is why it's so powerful. So one way to do this is at night. You have nightmares a lot. Yeah, this will help that. Because you've got that, your subconscious is working through old problems, trying to, I mean, our brains are problem solvers, right? So if you've got unresolved issues, you've got old problems, maybe you notice like you go through a conversation you had with somebody that didn't go well, and you replayed in your mind trying to think of ways that you could have done it differently. That's this old programming that just keeps playing. But you can break that cycle by doing a meditative prayer. Does work as well if you allow time to be quiet during your prayer. So prayer, you're like sending, and meditation, you're receiving, if that makes sense. Right? So we're bidirectional creatures within our bodies and with the universe. So if you're sending, you want to allow time to receive as well. So in meditation, it is as simple as just focusing on your breath or focusing on a sound in the room and allowing yourself to clear without judging or forcing. So your thoughts are going to come into your brain. We have like 30,000 thoughts a day. You're not going to shut down all of the thoughts, but just if you allow yourself to recognize them and them to pass, and if you do it at the end of the day when we're already winding down and you've had this beautiful 2-hour sleep routine working up to it, it will happen a lot sooner where everything calms down. And you will notice that as you get stronger in this habit, your mind gets into that spot where it's not hyperactive much quicker. Focusing on your breath and doing what I call box breathing technique, you can do it laying down, is a perfect way to do it. So you breathe in through your nose, and you can practice it now if you want. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4 or 5. So breathe in, breathe into your belly, hold, and then exhale for a count of 4 or 5. So, and then you hold again. So it's the same count at the top, and then you have a hold at the bottom. You release, and then you pause, and you breathe again. Simple, right? If you're in any stressful situation and you do this technique like 10 times, 10 rounds of the box breath, you will immediately feel your nervous system start to calm, and your regular breath, once you release the breath cycle, be slower, and your heart rate will decrease. Very, very simple technique that you can do anywhere. Yes, it will get you out of panic mode. I used to suffer from panic attacks so much that I blacked out in one of the hospitals I was working at and woke up in the ER with IVs in me. This has helped me not have panic attacks anymore. All right, and then we talked about turning off our smartphones and all of that kind of good stuff. You also have a goals worksheet. You can replace the word goals with habits. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I left that in the chat. All right. Let's see if there's anything else I missed. Does anyone have any questions as I'm looking through my notes? Just unmute yourself. So if you decide to start meditating, you can do it for as little as 5 minutes. That is enough time. Try to increase it by a minute every day. If you're going to start with with 5 minutes, or a minute every week, whatever it is, you'll find that you'll want and you'll look forward to it more and more as the days go on. All right. Pretty much covered it all. I wasn't over, so that's good. Questions?
Thank you, Selena. Thank you so much, as always. Anyone, I've taken off the unmute, so you can unmute yourself if you've got any questions for Selena before we stop recording.
And there is the Habit Monthly Tracker. There's a couple of pages in there that you can tick off. That's a reward in and of itself, is like ticking the box. For those of you who like to do that, I know Rachel does. She likes to tick the box. Marie can't unmute. Well, you can just put in the chat. But Marie said she can't unmute. If you can unmute her.
I've asked you to unmute, Marie. I've got it open to everybody now. Yeah, I knew you did, Jenna.
So it's not necessarily the amount of time that you put into something that creates the habit, but it's the number of times that you perform the action. So just keep that in mind. That's why starting with just 1 rep or 1 minute is going to be just as effective as starting with 30 minutes. If you can do it for 1 minute a day and add on to it, it's going to be just as effective in creating that new neural pathway, that new habit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.